What's going on, family? Big Teddy back with you, Theodore Helverveer. You know what it is. So happy, so glad, so proud, so grateful to be here with you guys for another week of the More Than Just Surviving Life podcast, brought to you by the HOH Collective. Okay, we're also doing another podcast. Don't forget to check it out. Politicking with the Bears drops every Sunday. Also, we appreciate all the purchases and the sales that contribute to the program. So make your way over to Amazon and pick up your copy of the More Than Just Surviving Life book. So, what we want to talk about today is do what's right for you. Sort of like Spike Lee, do the right thing, you know what I mean? But we're talking about doing the right thing for you. So something that we talk about here quite often, which can change this mindset and construe this, is we always talk about affecting our community, affecting our people, affecting the world, being good leaders, being strong, positive leaders, you know what I mean, and influencers, and spreading that energy out and making sure we do dope things so it hits everyone. But something that we need to touch on and something that we need to honestly say is, it's okay to not want to save the world. It's okay to not want to affect everybody. And that's why what we're talking about today is doing the right thing for you. No matter what we say, what message we give or send, what we understand here, and what I want you to understand from the honesty and the truth and the words that I speak to you is that there is no one answer that's right for everyone. And that's why I'm so happy and so thankful that you guys keep coming back and listening, that what I have to say and what I'm talking about resonates with you. The only thing that can be wrong or mess that up is by aiming for the wrong goal or aiming for a goal that's not right for you. Okay? It's okay to not want what other people for you. Maybe you want to travel and your family and your friends want you to work a 9-to-5 and have a stable job and be in an apartment and pay your bills on time. And that's dope. And those are beautiful things. You hear me? Those are really, really awesome things. Stability is priceless. But I'm also going to tell you that's not for everyone. We need to get out. We need to experience. We need to see what the world has to offer for us and where we can make our way and where we belong and where we exist. You know what I mean? Just because you were born in a place, just because you've lived your entire life in a place, doesn't mean that's where you belong. There are so many people that fall into their lives, and I have this conversation all the time. They didn't know what they wanted to do in school, so they just did what everybody suggested. They didn't know what they want to do for work after, so they just fell into a job. They didn't know who they wanted to be with, so they just ended up with someone. And then they ended up with kids. And then 20 years later, they ended up with a life that they're not happy with, that they didn't want to be a part of because they didn't make choices for themselves. They did what everyone thought they were supposed to do. And the thing about doing what everyone thinks you're supposed to do is a lot of times the people that tell you these things aren't really happy themselves, but it's what they've been taught, so it's what they preach. Okay? But even bringing it back to the positivity, it is okay to save only one life in your lifetime. And it is okay for that life to be yours. We never have any of these talks or any of these conversations assuming that everybody that's listening is operating on 10. Everybody that's listening is operating on 100. It's not realistic. We can't be happy all the time. We can't always be fired up all the time. You know what I mean? Some of us that are listening because we're in a bad place and we're not in a great place, you know, and we need inspiration because we're struggling with our mental health. We're struggling with our morality. We're struggling with our emotions and feeling alone. and we want to make better choices and we want to make healthier choices. And it's okay to want those things for just you. It's okay to want those things and to not want to teach them to the whole entire world. And that's what I'm telling you. Sometimes the first person you save has to be you. Because something that I came to realize a very long time ago is, if you can't save you, if you don't save you, nobody will. And that doesn't mean that nobody's willing. It doesn't mean that people won't put in the work and the effort and be there for you and with you. But until you're in the place inside yourself where you're ready for those things, no matter how much effort or work anyone else puts in, will not take hold. It's just like self-love. We talk about the self-love all the time. If you don't love you, if you don't feel good with you, if you don't feel strong and happy and positive towards you, it doesn't matter how many people do. No matter how much they pour into you, you become a bottomless cup because you don't believe you deserve it. And this is why we talk so heavily about communication. This is why we talk so heavily about experiences. Okay? Another quote from the book, and this is one that I love, and it's from a movie called The Mechanic, said, "Good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment." In the book, I give you the origin of the quote besides The Mechanic. But what's important right now is not necessarily where it comes from, but the accuracy of that statement. I've told you before, and I'll tell you time and again, you cannot know what's right for you until you start making choices. And you have to be honest with yourself and say, I'm not going to spend the next 6 years doing it to see how it works. It's about finding balance and finding that middle ground, right? So let's say you want to move to a new city or a new state or a new country. What's a reasonable amount of time to invest? 6 months. 6 months is enough time in a new place to know I can work here, I've made friends here, I'm happy here, this is for me. Or I need to move into something different. And you know what? Sometimes it's going to be less than that. And if it's up to you, sometimes it's going to be more than that. But I'm saying never pin your life on something that you know isn't right for you, or something that you're not sure is right for you, because those can be and are two very different things. But that equation becomes different when we're talking about different things. When you listen to Gary Vee, when you listen to Tony Robbins, something that they say is patience is a virtue. And they're talking about in terms of business, building your business, building your brand. Okay? Tony Robbins says a lot of people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in a decade. Gary Vee also says and talks about how he has seen so many people put in the time and the energy and effort and get to that 99% and give up and walk away just before they were about to blow, just before they were about to make it. So the conversation that we're having when we're talking about doing you and doing what's right for you is two parts, like so many of our conversations. Because what this all really comes down to is problem solving. So, part one, assessing the situation. What am I unhappy with right now? What would I like to be doing different? I want to try a new line of work. I want to move to a new city. I want to start a new business. Okay? Now, once you figure out what the problem is, what you're working on, what you would like to do differently, and this is simple. We've talked about it before. Write a list. Sit down and say, okay, this is what I'm currently doing. What would I like to do different? What would I like to try new? And just brainstorm and think. Until you think about it, the ideas aren't going to come. Some people are always thinking about it. Some people never think about it. But if you're not putting it down on paper, if you're not committing the time and the energy and the effort to do it, it doesn't go anywhere. So once you've put that down on paper and you've come up with the idea and you figure out what I want to do differently, what I want to work on, what I want to build on changing and being better at, then you can give yourself a time frame. When it's a workout goal, okay, they say it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months for it to become a habit. Now, they tell people 60 days, but it depends on the individual. Like, I've had that conversation with you before. Some people, it's 30 days. Some people, 60 days. Some people, 90 days. It all depends on how bad you want what you're working towards. Okay? And what's realistic for that goal. 6 months to live in a new place and try it out. Even if you want to change countries, most visas are for a year. If you're under 30, most visas to a new country are under a year. So that's 6 months to get your stuff together, make friends, save money, and figure out, yeah, no, this is dope. I want to do this. Or no, I think I'm going to move on to a new place. A year to travel a whole country? That's a ton of time. And so little time. But there's so many different opportunities out there. And this is all very doable. You know, not everybody, again, has to want to start their own business. You might just want to find a job where you're not stressed all the time and you make decent money and you can work as many hours as you want. And that is a reasonable goal too. And that is dope. And that's okay. Okay? I'm going to tell you again, like Gary Vee said, because I listen to the man and I consider him one of my mentors. If you are perfectly happy going to work every day, coming home, playing Madden, chilling, relaxing, and then repeating that process, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to work every day and you're stressed out and you hate your coworkers and you have to drink super heavy and use drugs and numb yourself out on the weekend just to make it through your week, then you need to reevaluate what you want to do and how much time and effort you're putting into it. Because I'm telling you right now, the money, the energy, the time, the effort that we pour into drowning out and hiding from our problems, if we used a third of that, less than half of that energy to work on solving our problems, we would be in a completely different place. Okay? And this doesn't matter. Again, this conversation, this equation is the same whether you're trying to change yourself or change the world. And that's something that we need to make peace with inside ourselves. There are so many people, we've had this conversation where so many of the talks that we have play into each other and they fold into each other and they touch on the same topic. So many people make choices in their lives that they don't really want for other people. And not to test and try things out and do better and explore and be more, but because it's what someone told them and it's what someone thought for them. And they tricked themselves into believing it was their idea. What are we talking about? Doing what's right for you, okay? Doing what's right for you is not necessarily about chasing another person, because that happens too. And there are healthy and negative forms of that. The best type of situation, because we talk about the buddy system, and the buddy system is dope if you have a reasonable buddy to do things with. But when you team up and build and share energy with the right people, it works for everyone, because you may want to get the same thing in different ways, but as long as you're keeping each other motivated and inspired, everybody wins. Everybody gets to meet their goals. You know, figure out what's right for you first, and then you can work on the methods how to get there. Then you can work on the right and wrong ways to do that. But in order to do that, how do we get there? How do we get there? If you ain't screaming free Pimp C, what is you saying? Don't get comfortable. You've been thinking you're not going to hear it, and then you're going to hear it. Get familiar, okay? What are we talking about? Honest, open communication with yourself so that you can learn and figure out and understand how to do what's right for you. Does it make me happy? Does it make me feel good? Am I fulfilled? Am I achieving the things that I want to achieve? And a lot of people, again, can feel offended by this conversation because depending on your circumstance, you may think to yourself, I can't afford to live like that. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to do that. I'm struggling just to survive. Tony Robbins said, if the government told you they were going to take 20% of your paycheck, 20% more, you would bitch and moan and get upset and pay it because you had no choice. So what are you spending on that you can cut out and take that 20% from yourself? And he implemented this with a dude that was an adult in his 30s making like $22K a year, which is barely enough for a single solo individual to survive on. What are you doing? What are you drowning yourself in that you can take from and pour that energy into something else? I want to get healthier. I want to get fit, but I can't make it to the gym. Dog, the money that you're spending to go out on the weekend, get some weights. Get some weights. Run down to the Kmart or the Target or the Bosco's, whatever is in your area, whatever is in your country, and get some $10 5-pound weights. Start lifting. Take baby steps if you need to. I don't know how to take baby steps. That's not my strong point. I do what's right for me. I look at the cliff. I jump off the cliff. I go all in. Because for me, that's what works. And for a lot of people, that's scary. And that's too much commitment. And there's no safety net. Okay? But there's a movie, a documentary that I love. And it's called Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And it's a really dope documentary. And he talks about how he's conflicted because he is like the number one sushi chef in the world. And so they have him go to schools and talk to people. And he says, you know, I want to tell them to stay in school, but then I also want to be honest and tell them that you don't need school to make it. Jiro was an orphan. And they put out of the orphanage at the age of 9. And he had to start working. And you know what they told him? Now you have to make it because you have nowhere to go back to. And he said when his sons were ready to do their own thing, he told them the same thing. And it wasn't because he was going to abandon his son or turn his back on him, but his youngest needed to do his own thing. The restaurant is going to go to his oldest. And so the youngest needed to step out on his own. So he told them when he was ready, now you have to succeed because you have no home to come back to. But he said, I told him that because I believed in him, because I knew he could do it. He said, nowadays, parents tell their kids, oh, if it doesn't work out, you can come back. And then the next thing you know, a couple weeks later, they're living on your couch for the next couple of years. When you rely too heavy on a fallback, you're intending to fail. And I'm not talking about not having a safety net, not having a plan for how do I get out of this, or how do I do that. But I'll be real with you, as much as I believe in those and set those up, life happens, regardless of planning. So sometimes, yeah, I burn the boat behind me. Because if I look back, if I can go back, then I'm not going to fully commit to the things that I'm planning on and working on. I don't care if you need to take baby steps. I don't care if you jump off a cliff. The only thing that I care about in this situation is that you are doing what's right for you. So stop, think about it, you know what I mean? And that is my advice. That is my offer. That is my desire for you guys for today. When this is over, sit down, if you haven't already, take a piece of paper and think about and talk about with yourself, what would I like to work on? What choices am I not making for me? What choices in my life don't make me happy, don't make me fulfilled? And how can I be doing them differently? And most importantly in that process, be honest with yourself, okay? We're going to keep doing this every week, back to back, 2 days a week. I'm going to be here with you. If you want to talk to me, if you've got questions and you're looking for answers, you can talk to me on Twitter, HOH_LLC. on Twitter, on IG. You can email me at the hohcollective@gmail.com and ask me your questions. Shoot the shit. Just talk to me. I don't care. I'm here for you. I'm here with you. And we will continue to do this together and build non-stop. Bless up, family.